What is going on, everybody? It's a beautiful day here in Miami, Oklahoma. Today I'm hanging out with Brian Pitts from Newell, Coach. We've got a pretty exciting coach to show you today. Brian, what's going on, sir?
I wanted to show you this one because it is a mid-entry, which is somewhat of an anomaly in the high-end diesel coach segment, but a thing that Newell's very well known for and a thing that I'm very crazy about myself.
A huge thanks to Newell, Coach, for sponsoring today's video.
We are in a 2014 model that we built new as a show coach. It's had two owners since then, and we've traded for it back. And it happens to be the newest mid-entry I have in inventory, other than one we're building that's not quite ready for prime time yet. So I thought I would show you what we love about mid-door coaches and this one in general.
I'm a fan of mid-door coaches myself. You don't see very many of them. What are some of the big benefits of having a mid-door coach?
The things that really make sense on a mid-door coach is the vast majority of RV resorts out there, you're not set up with your outdoor living out there by the street. It's set up more back here in the private area of the lot. And so as you're interfacing with outdoor living, it works a lot better through the center of the coach. As you come in, you're right here at the refrigerator, at the pantry, at the half bath. You're under an awning if the weather is inclement. It's just a lot more convenient to use in conjunction with outdoor living, which is frankly what these are for.
That definitely makes sense, and I can see the convenience. Like if you need to go to the back of the coach or the bedroom, you're not walking from the front of the coach all the way through the coach. Definitely more functionable. You were saying this was the show coach
Yes.
in Tampa back in 14. So
Yes.
Do you know what coach number this is?
1476 is the coach number. We hadn't done a center entry show coach in quite a while, and we thought it'd be a good thing to show, and it turned out to be very good for us. It kicked off a new wave of orders for mid-door coaches that really continues even to today. We'll see about 40% of our production is ordered with a mid-entry.
Wow.
Another thing we hear a lot of good comments on a center entry coach is we like how it makes the living room feel like a single unit. And you can kind of see what they're talking about when people say that here. It feels less like a cockpit with a room behind it and more like an actual living room because you're not entering up there at the front. This coach has a desk with a motorized 49-inch television that comes up out of the back of it. Pretty popular option for us. The desk with the little writing drawer and the file drawers beside it. There's storage for your printer with 110 volt plugs. A lot of people use Bluetooth printers, so you can just set it on the charger in there and get it out when you need it. This is a sleeper couch with a queen size hide-a-bed, and all of this is in an 18-foot slide. That's a pretty big slide for the high-end segment of the industry. It's 18 feet long and 30 inches deep. This one on this side is 14 feet long and 30 inches deep, so it really makes just a massive salon area. This is a 14-foot wide room, and put in the big windows and the 8-foot ceilings, and this is just a great big room.
I can definitely vouch for that. As you can see here, I mean, it literally does not feel like we're in a motorhome at all. This is definitely much more of a living kind of a feeling. And I've got to point out, you did some pretty cool stuff. You want to tell us a little bit about the finishes that you used in this coach?
Sure. So the leather is a distressed leather, which was a pretty unusual look at that time. Most everything either had smooth leather or some combination of leather and suede. This one is a distressed leather, which gives it a used look and a really cool feel. Like it's not slippery like average leather. It sits more like a fabric couch while holding up more like you would expect leather to.
You've got that same distressed leather on the ceiling.
This coach was one of the first ones that started introducing gray as a neutral. We didn't really want to go all the way gray, just some gray accents. So the gray couch and the recliner, both of those pulled that together, the ceiling treatments that you mentioned. But one of the pieces I felt like really pulled the coach together well Look at this countertop. This was a new manufacture of solid surface countertop when this came out, and it's like the perfect blend of the warm, rich colors that are in the mahogany on the cabinets and the cooler grays that we are trying to pull in for the rest of the coach. It resulted in really a modern feel without making it feel cold and sterile inside.
Other thing that keeps catching my eye as Brian was talking is I love the diamond pattern in the captain's chairs up here, way ahead of the game in styling. Newell coach has always been a trend setter. Was that new at that time, or?
That was toward the beginning of it. The other thing you mentioned, stitching, made me think of it. Check out these liners by the windows.
Oh yeah,
wall treatments here.
Wow.
With the pleated and then stitched, we often did an offsetting color of stitch. It just made a really modern, clean-looking window treatment with the rolled cabinet material on the sills. It did necessitate buying a very expensive sewing machine to be able to sew through 4 layers of leather at the same time.
I bet.
But a really cool look.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's even more of that same stitching right here, and all kinds of cool decor above the driver's area. I like all the rounded lines that Newell coach uses, and this cockpit area was way ahead of its time. You've still got all of that real carbon fiber there. That's huge. This signature Newell coach, kind of a rolling cup holder armrest. What do you guys call that?
We just call it the driver's console. And while it is a fairly standard piece of our delivery parts, it's also custom. Like if you've got a Yeti cup that's a certain size base and it's not going to fit that, no worries. Send us one, tell us what size it's going to be. We make them to fit. We can also do the storage below. That whole thing is open for storage. We do that also custom for whatever you need it to do. It can have key rings or locking storage, that sort of thing.
Huge digital screen there.
What's really cool about that screen, it has selectable screens, but I think what's so cool about that one is it works on the aircraft principle. As long as everything is quiet and blue, you're good. If something starts binging and turns red, then you've got a problem. Like it just alerted me that I have no oil pressure. Expected, the coach isn't running. But you see how the arrow down here on the oil pressure gauge is red?
Oh yeah.
What you're looking for while you're driving is all blue. And as long as everything is blue and quiet, you're good. If you get an audible alert and red arrows, that's something that needs to be paid attention to. You can change this to different gauge modes.
Oh, look at that.
Like if you prefer the more analog sweep type dials, that's there. You can change the foreground color if green is a problem. You can change it to another color. There's actually a number. This one is nice if you have a hard time seeing the smaller digits. These are much larger. Then you have a single speed gauge in the center with the smaller gauges surrounding it. But this one here is really the one I like. And you see how there's a lot of empty space on the panel there? What that's for is we have always tried to design these coaches so that you can customize everything for your size and seating position. So the idea with the blank space there is it gives us room to move the information in the panel up or down depending on your seating position. So none of it's blocked by the steering wheel while you're driving.
While we're up here, I've got to point out the Newell coach pedals with that, like, what do they call it? Machined aluminum or large galley. Now, I'm noticing here a lot of the newer coaches have like a painting right there. What's going on right there?
So with this one being a center entry, and that kind of kicks off a longer conversation, but with this being a center entry, really the only drawback to a center entry is when we're duplicating the space that's typically used for the passenger's feet and the entry steps up front, it takes 30 inches of convertible floor space, actually a little more, closer to 32 inches of convertible floor space to do a center entry. So what that means is as we're building the rest of the coach, we need to come up with almost 3 feet worth of space. Typically, one of the places people are most willing to give is galley and surrounding areas. So in this coach, where this would normally be an art recess, we did a little cabinet in here that would work as a pantry. That's in addition to the other.
Oh yeah.
And there's another here beside the refrigerator. But that would, you're right, that would typically be an art recess, but in this case we felt it was a better use of space to use it as auxiliary pantry.
Okay, nice. So this is a bath and a half?
Bath and a half. Just about everything we build is, but on a center door it's especially important. Look at the proximity of the steps.
Oh yeah, you can go right into the coach and right into the half bath. Make it easy for you if you're out with your buddies in a NASCAR race or whatnot. But still, these finishes that you guys use are just so incredible. I love the clean wall panels, all leather wrapped. Very cool accent wall there, and of course a tile backsplash and that same countertop we were talking about in the kitchen. You've got storage above the head as well as more storage above the sink. Even on a 7-year-old Newell coach, it's just incredible at how well these hold together and how tight and sturdy everything is. If you go walk through a bunch of like 7 or 8-year-old like production coaches and start opening all the cabinets, touching and feeling everything, that's where you're going to see the value and the build quality of these Newell coaches. It's not always what you see, it's what's underneath what you see that makes them so well built.
We put the washer and dryer on this one here in the center. Again, a convenience thing. It's convenient to the front and the back of the coach.
Now this does not have those sliding doors.
Right, and that's another space-saving consideration. It takes about 6 inches to pull those off to have room for the mechanisms and for the doors to be able to slide back in without any danger of damaging the finishes. So on a mid-door coach, that would be an excellent place to pick up 6 inches, and that's what we did here without the retractable doors.
Yeah. Is this a king size bed or a queen size bed? Because it's so big back here, I can't even tell.
That's a trick question, Andrew. Typically the way beds work for us is when we're designing a floor plan for a client, we ask them what their importance is. Obviously, most people want some form of a bath and a half or 2 full baths, something like that. They want adequate galley space, a large enough couch that you can entertain with seating spaces around it, a dinette, and so on. It usually comes back to a conversation about how big of a bed do you want. And some people lead with that. And if you lead with, I want a king bed, that is absolutely no problem. We can make the rest of the coach fall in line and a king bed is what will happen. Usually though, when we show people what they're losing with a king size bed, and you have to keep in mind it's not just a matter of making it wider over here, it also has to fit into this slide when the slides close, so it affects all the dimensions on this side of the coach too. So we will often, when somebody starts out with I want a king size bed, we'll say, all right, here's how your floor plan looks with a king size bed in it. And it often comes back to some sort of a hybrid king like this one. This bed is...
So a hybrid king.
Yeah, sure. We've coined a term junior king for it. I think that might be completely made up. But the reality of the situation is an actual house king bed is 78 inches wide. A queen is 60 inches wide. This bed is 72 inches wide.
Okay.
So it gets you very close, but it also doesn't take away any of the rest of the stuff. If we did a king in this floor plan, there wouldn't be a room for a Newell-sized half bath. You could do a much smaller half bath, but we want ours to actually be functional, so that was the decision made here.
How do you order bedding? Because this is a custom size, how can folks say they want to get new sheets? How do they do that?
Very, very common question and a great question. Probably the most effective way, we have some very high quality sheets here. We buy king flats. They're very high thread count, very soft, last forever, so on and so forth. We send every coach out with 2 sets of those that are tailored to fit the bed. So going down the road a ways, they're worn out or they've got a tear or a stain or whatever, you can call us and say, hey, I want a new set of sheets. And we've got a drawing in our upholstery shop of every set of sheets we've ever made. So we can just supply those sheets, put them in the FedEx, and they show up at your house. I think they're $60 a pair. We can custom tailor And another thing, some people have a preference for what material they want their sheets to be out of. We will tell them in that situation, send us 4 flats, king flats, and we'll tailor them to fit the bed and send them back. That's also a pretty cool deal.
So I like this. Now this isn't, I would say it's not a painting, but it's still a piece of artwork. Very cool styling there. And then is this going to be wardrobe off to our right here? Or?
It's got a little on each side of the bed. This one's about a 2-foot rod here. And then there's a jacket closet on that side of the bed. And then there are closets in the back, two sets of closets in the back. Another thing that is typically not a place people want to compromise on when we're looking for space is closet space. That's always one of those things on the list that's pretty near the top of the list. This coach is going to have about 10 feet of hanging in it, which is pretty solid for a high-end motorhome, perhaps a little less than a traditional front door Newell would have. But for a center door, that's a lot of hanging space.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I want to point out behind you that I'm noticing here, I really like how they use the faces of this cabinet door as well as the drawers below. They used mirrors to cover the faces there. So you basically have a full-length mirror in the same location where you've got closet space and 2 drawers. Extremely clever.
Really, the thing with the reflective surface in motorhomes, mirrors on the ceilings and mirrors everywhere, have kind of gotten a bad rap over recent years. It used to just be the way we did things, but the purpose of that was never really glitz, even though that's the way it comes across. The purpose of it was the more reflective surface you have, the bigger the machine feels. So when you do mirrored inserts in the ceilings and mirrors on the cabinet doors, shiny cabinets and shiny floor, it just makes the coach feel bigger.
I really like the detail work Newell Coach does with all of their carpets. It is wrapped right now to protect the carpets while it is listed for sale, but there's all kinds of high-end detail work. You can tell that's the real deal right there. We talked about the bed, rear bath, a bath and a half. So what's
pretty much always have a rear master bath.
And I'm just real quick, I've got to point out, Brian, what are you, about 6'2", 6'4"?
6'2", yeah.
Yeah. So Brian is not a small guy, and look at, like, it's like you walked into a whole different room back here.
There's plenty of headroom. That's one of the first things tall guys do at our coaches in the shows, and you can tell it's because they've been disappointed forever. So they'll walk in, they won't even look up front, they come straight to the back, stand in the shower, and then they're ready to talk.
Yeah.
This is wardrobe here. So we have clothes hamper and drawers and a cedar-lined closet.
Nice.
And then another cedar-lined closet back here.
Whoa, that's a huge closet. Yeah. I want to point out how deep it is. Brian, are you able to reach, like, you've got those drawers out, but are you able to reach the back of it? I mean, you've got a full, what is it, about a 3-foot deep?
I would say very close to 3 feet.
Wow. And I really like this style with the corner sink here. It just really does not feel like we're in a motorhome at all. Real quick, I want to point out the sink here just because every single Newell coach has just a different, really unique, cool sink. And then, you want to show us the storage there?
Yeah, it's got quite a lot. And remember, as I showed you before, these open up to use like as a makeup mirror. So when you're getting ready, you've got the three sides. It's not very beneficial for you and I, but we're told people find value in that. But anyway, all of this opens up for storage. It's wired with 110 plugs, so if you use electric shavers, electric toothbrushes, that sort of thing, there's a place to put them so they're not out on the counter.
Nice.
And you have more storage here.
Yeah, and that is really deep too. I've got to point out, that's not a small space by any means, and it's in really good condition. You know, I've been in a lot of 8-year-old coaches with carpet-lined cabinets. And I've got to say, whoever owned this coach really took good care of it.
Yeah, that's fairly typical. If they're going to spend this kind of money on a machine up front, it's unusual that I get one back that's been maintained poorly. They're typically in pretty good shape. There's also drawers all around on the rear vanity here. It has drawers everywhere.
Tons of drawers, a lot of storage space there.
And this is a big shower also. For a motor coach to have a 4.5 foot wide, 3.5 foot deep shower is
You want to
nice.
show us the tall test?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see.
So 6'2" here. I've got plenty of room.
Yep.
I would say you're probably at about 78 inches here.
Okay.
Interior height in the shower, which would be the lowest part of the coach. Most of the ceilings are closer to 8 feet.
Nice. And is that the same surface that you used on
It
the
is.
countertops?
Yeah.
That is a beautiful surface. With the tile work there as well to break it up. And the thing I like about this too, I just noticed this, is there's a lip right here. I know so that if you leave a bottle of body wash in there and go down the road, it's not falling out.
Yeah. That'll hold it in place, and it has a little drain so that water won't stand in.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Very, very well thought out.
And we camouflaged a little leg shaving bench in here too.
See, I wouldn't
really
know
don't
what
see
that was, but now I understand. The ladies will be able to appreciate that. All right, Brian, I got to get to the hard question. How much money is it going to take for someone to drive this coach off the lot here at Newell Coach?
Well, that's always the hard question in these high dollar machines, but this one is $925,000. We have this machine on consignment, and the owners really wanted to have a home, and so $925 is the number.
It is a consignment coach, but do you include any kind of warranty on it?
The purchase process on a consignment coach is really irrelevant whether we own the coach or it's on consignment. It's going to be warranted the same. The PDI and the preventative maintenance schedule all works exactly the same. That's part of the documents a person signs when they put a coach on consignment with us, is that they will agree to go with our delivery process, which definitely includes the 2-year, 24,000-mile pre-owned coach warranty.
Very great opportunity for someone to get in a pre-owned mid-entry coach with a 2-year warranty. Is anyone else in the industry doing a 2-year warranty on a pre-owned coach?
I haven't seen it.
That's huge. Great opportunity for someone. If someone's a serious buyer, who should they get a hold of?
My name is Brian Pitts. I can be reached at brianp@newellcoach.com.
Awesome. Well, Brian, I can't thank you and the team at Newell Coach enough for taking the time to show me and the folks out on YouTube this great coach. Greatly appreciate all of you liking these videos and subscribing to the channel. I hope you're all having a great day.
We'll see you later. Thank you.